Now, you would be someone who would be able to recognize an environment like a zoo. Are you saying that the Guadalajara is well set up? They know what they're doing?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, good to hear.
And I come from a long history of zoos doing inspections. I did media tours when in my younger times, going to zoos and explaining the different problems and behavior with polar bears and cage dimensions and cage accessories that are offered. Because when I first started, it would be common to go into a zoo and it would be a concrete cage with everything metal and a blue painted pine cactus or pine tree on the wall, as if that makes a difference. But they've come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, now the concept of a zoological garden is more, you're the one in captivity and the animals are free.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, now in your book, and I did not know this, you say that it used to be believed that the most dangerous wildlife animal was a polar bear, but now we think it's a silverback? Tell me about that.
Actually, I said that the polar bear is recognized as the A1 predator.
Oh, all right.
But I would argue that not the silverback, but the cat is the number one predator, just by the sheer design, the flexibility, the strength, and the powerful claws and the powerful canines, and also what's important is that what you see in a domestic cat that's very friendly and playing and scratching posts, you'll see in a 250-pound cougar or 1,200-pound tiger.
Yeah.
Except the strength goes with the size. So it's that's why it's quite dangerous to people get used to be able to get tiger cubs or cougar cubs, and once they become adults, you can't keep them.
Yes, I was rehabbing. I was sort of the associate rehabber of a bobcat.
Okay.
And it was a kitten. And of course, to me, it looked like a kitten, right? It was behaving like that, and I went into the enclosure and saw it. You do not play with these the way you would play with a kitten. There is an undercurrent of power. It's not playing around. I could just feel this was growing into something that was not a kitten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a funny story about that. In the late 80s, I was working at the Canadian SPCA in Montreal, and we started receiving felines, large felines, cougar cubs, jaguars, bobcats, and I approached the Ministry of Fish and Wildlife and I said, well, these are wild animals. They should, and your law says that keeping wildlife in captivity is illegal. And their rationale was that if it's not found on our territory, naturally, it is not a wild animal. So you mentioned the bobcat. The bobcat found its way to my office, and literally to my office, because he's on my bookshelf in the picture in the book. And he typical, declawed, defanged, so unreleasable.
Yes.
And so I went to the media and I said, isn't that strange that a 20-pound bobcat is illegal, but a 250-pound cougar is perfectly illegal. It's perfectly legal, sorry. And the next day I got a call from the minister's office, and I was summoned. And that was 87, and in 92 there was a new regulation of animals in captivity.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was that's an example that I would say to people, and when you deal with wildlife. One course I remember one thing from my professor, and he says wildlife management is 98% social. So if you can have the best management practices, but if the people don't buy in, you won't get the results.
Yeah.
So that's an example of getting the population involved and getting because I would take care of these animals, because although I didn't think it was a good pet, made a good pet, but I wanted to give the animal what he needed.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's always been my priority.
I used to work with a veterinarian who specialized in reversing declawing.
Okay.
Because, now, do you agree that declawing is
It's an
inhumane?
amputation.
It's an amputation.
That's, to me, these few words says it all.
Yeah, it's like walking on glass, I understand,
Yeah.
for the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the canines, when they're kittens or cubs, they remove the canines, but it's the baby teeth.
Right. Right.
I had to deal with a 15-month-old jaguar named Sam, and he had his canines, and
So they'd grown back,
Yeah.
the adult teeth had
Yeah.
come in. Yeah.
so that's a neat surprise when you're facing this animal.
I bet. So anyway, just for the viewers out there, if you are even considering declawing your cat because you care about a couch or just a piece of furniture, please give us your take on that.
I think it's totally unjustified, and you don't need to do that. There are all kinds of products and accessories
Yeah.
that are available, and it also comes down to the fundamental question: why do you want to have a pet? And if a pet is to share your home, then you will make the concessions for him to share your home,